Once the girl arrived home from work, she visited the rental place and told Casey that if she didn't have money, she could use something else.
Instead of...
If you evict US, you won't be able to stand US in our bikinis anymore.
Tomorrow night, Casey went to the supermarket to go shopping, and was met by a handsome man. The man's personal talk and his in-depth understanding of red wine left a deep impression on West. After shopping, Casey waited for a car at the entrance of the supermarket, when the man also finished shopping and walked out. After learning that Casey's car to the moon had been cancelled, Chris invited Casey to get on his luxury car and soon went back to Casey's accommodation to see the room. Casey said that he was fired with his teachers and friends. I really wanted to go back, but Chris offered to go to his house for one night, but Kathy refused. Kathy got off the bus and walked home. At this time, Hao Saifang appeared again, and Chris happened to see it. He felt that Kathy might be in danger, so Chris backed up and went back to Kathy again.
Still.
Stands, Casey smiled and changed into Chris's car. Soon the two came to Chris's mansion in the mountains. Casey looked at the complete set of smart furniture around him in a novel way, and Fugu's secret West didn't sigh. Chris was really too rich. At this moment, Chris brought red wine to celebrate their meeting. Then Casey dragged off his coat and was ready to invite Chris to come to the sofa. As the distance approached, the two felt that there was no need for verbal communication, so they began to communicate more deeply. When he woke up the next day, Chris found that Casey beside him had left. She didn't want to be the hostess of the villa. He got up early and went back to his residence to replenish his physical strength. But Chris, who woke up, couldn't be happy. He didn't want Casey to be his passerby. So he came to the bar, where Casey worked at night, showing his thoughts. But Casey didn't immediately give the answer. That was, he talked about his own experience and family situation, because he felt that he couldn't cheat each other. I found someone in front of his car. Carman was not afraid to leave after being discovered by the owner. Instead, he began to use words. Casey immediately dreamed violently and took up 9 bottles. The gangster instantly rushed at Casey. Chris hurriedly came in front of Casey. After several heavy blows, Chris's leg was seriously injured. After playing in the hospital, he began to take care of Chris's daily life. After watching Casey be busy with himself, Chris proposed that Casey resign and become his full-time nurse.
Be my nurse, take care. Why not for your qualifications?
Well, I can fix them on that. Additionally, you're suggesting to risk your heads.
So there is... You're hired? Chris has lived here since he moved his luggage here. Casey has no reason to refuse to do it. Chris is afraid that he will fall asleep and Casey can't get in. Not only did he tell Casey the password of the room, but he also taught him how to use his mobile phone to control the mansion. But he didn't know that this would plunge him into an endless abyss. Casey quickly returned to the mansion, and the two started a happy life with shame. The next morning, the landlord came to Casey's room again and collected the rent for more than a long time. But no one responded. Tansy's taxi friend had died at the moment, and the over-fertilized landlord called the police at that time. At the same time, Tansy was watching Reese alone in the mansion, very bored. Facing Casey's 4-person bags, he became curious. He pulled out a photo, which showed an intimate photo of Casey and Shiyu. But after all, it was a peek at something in a tense situation and fell to the floor, alarming Casey, who was washing laundry.
Sorry, I was just done.
There's clearly sniping, don't feel bad. If I were you, I'd do the same.
Down my back, please.
The wet Reese was gentle and fragrant again. On the second day, Kathy woke up early, secretly picked up Chris's mobile phone, and then patted Chris to take the opportunity to relieve the fire on the mobile phone. When Chris came again, he found that Kathy had already disappeared, and his mobile phone had disappeared. Chris hurried downstairs to see the news of Lisa's death being reported on TV. Just when Chris was surprised, Kathy came back with the tea machine, and his teacher and friend died for no reason. Okay, something.
Good or something back?
Superbank, Lisa, what's with her? She died. Scott should probably contact.
Would be stupid to me.
Because I'm no one who killed her.
But after Siduo's reaction, Casey ran out again. In fact, it was not his world friend, but Casey's girlfriend who approached. It was only because Lisa rented a room and could perfectly observe everything in Chris's mansion. Casey had been observing Chris's living habits from the distance before, and the encounter in the supermarket was just Casey's exquisite layout. Even the gangsters in the parking lot were also planned by Casey. Originally, Lisa didn't have to die, but she unexpectedly discovered Casey's plan, so Casey killed him and silenced him. Hearing this, Chris was completely panicked. Hurry up and leave until your mobile phone is in Chixi, which also means that Chris has taken control of the house.
Sorry, lover.
Had.
Once.
On the other side, after Lee's death, Casey vanished. Hao Saifang decided to rent out the house again and stumbled upon the binoculars Casey used to watch Chris. Meanwhile, in the villa, Chris's brother Hersey finally revealed his intentions.
Do you have what I want?
West was only approaching for money, and he didn't have any feelings for himself. Casey, who had to curse Chris, didn't get used to him. He directly threw him to the ground with his long legs, and then took out a handful of electric drills to Chris's bank card password.
Passwords and security code.
Okay. Chris completely underestimated Kathy's spirit. After some time, Tashi finally got the password from Leith's mouth, and successfully got everything he dreamed of. However, he didn't know that all this was caught by the landlord. The profitable landlord hid outside the mansion. After Kathy drove away, he smashed the glass with a stone, turned over Kathy in the car, and found that someone forced the road back through his mobile phone. Seeing someone entering the mansion, Chris begged the landlord to call the police to save himself, but he began to rob him in troubled waters. Kay had already driven back at this time. When the landlord saw Kathy enter the door, he directly picked up the fruit knife in the kitchen to protect himself. However, he didn't expect Kathy to take out a 40-meter knife directly, and then arrogantly asked the landlord to run 39 meters first. While Kathy chased the landlord's control, Chris was dragging out of the mansion, and his snowmobile went straight. The greedy landlord on the other side finally couldn't escape Kathy's gambler. Chris was eager to run for his life, and was knocked down by a stone ban on the road. Chris told the man about his kidnapping, and the man said that he would take him to the police station now, and enthusiastically helped him get through the phone of the police station. Yeah, I'm in a car. I'm heading. Yeah, wait. Before Chris got there, the man helped her with 2 punches. It turned out he and Casey were in on it. The man was Casey's partner, Michelle Platini. They planned everything, making Chris the target. By evening, Casey and Michelle Platini came to look after Chris.
How to fit the one. Don't tell him I sent some.
But Chris said that Tessie actually didn't have to do it at all, because he had fallen in love with him, and then everything was his, but Kathy felt that the tea in his hand was his own. Chris said that he had nothing now, and advised them to leave quickly, but Chixie said that they found that there were tens of millions of bonds in the vault, but opening the treasure house needed fingerprint identification. Chris said that he wouldn't go to the bank with them when he died. At this moment, the man came up, and Tessie took the opportunity to hide from behind. Chris man turned his arm and took him down directly. However, the verification of the fingerprint failed one after another. The manager was about to call the police, and the fingerprint finally passed the verification. But when the two opened the safe, they found that there were no tens of millions of bonds inside, but just a love letter from Chris and his wife. At the same time, my daughter had climbed out of the house through the ventilation duct, and Casey was already on her way back. After returning home, Michelle Platini gave Casey a pistol. He killed Chris, leaving his wife behind, and asked the whereabouts of the bond. When he opened the door, he found that his family was no longer in the house. Then the two began to search. The man had just come to the door, but Chris stole him. But how could he be the man's opponent? He was soon knocked down to the ground. Hixie tried to ask the whereabouts of the bond, but his father pushed him and shot him. Hixie had already had enough of the man's command, so he directly raised his hand and sent him to the northwest. He took the opportunity to take the beautiful stick to Casey. He took the opportunity to call the police. Then he fought with Shilu again, but he was seriously injured. He would be Casey's opponent. He was directly injured by Casey. His son rushed out of the case and knocked Casey into the wall. However, Shishili reported that his wife was not his opponent at all. Shishi picked up his hand. The two people who got up and walked to breathe. Just at this moment, with a gunshot, the police arrived at Shishi in time and were successfully shot. Sometimes what you think is luck is just someone else's careful layout. No matter what men or women are outside, you must remember to protect them.